Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hey, today we're going to be joined by Lindsay Boyko. Lindsay is a great friend of the show, a great friend of Flatirons Young Adults. She has so much wisdom to offer, and we are going to start having a conversation around dating apps. We are so excited to get into this conversation. It's something so many of us are asking about. Let's go ahead and hop in and hear what Lindsay has to say. Lindsay Boyko, what is up, my friend?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. For those who don't know you, would you just go ahead and just maybe give them, people who are listening, just a quick run back of what you do here, who you are, any fun facts about yourself, any of that stuff?
My name's Lindsay, and I am on our worship staff here. I'm at our Lafayette campus. I freeze whenever there's fun facts about me. I am married. I'm an Enneagram 3, wing 4.
Come on.
I have 1 million plant babies, and that's about it.
Do you have names for your plants?
So I started naming them, and then it got out of hand. And I couldn't
so
keep
like
track,
how many plants and how many names are we talking about here in terms of like,
oh, wow.
You walk into your home and is it like I'm walking into a forest and every plant's got a name?
That's what I want it to feel like, yeah.
Okay.
I would say you walk into a forest and about half my plants have names.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you had to name this plant right here one thing, what would it be?
Ooh. Snake Gyllenhaal.
Snake Gyllenhaal, huh? Wow.
Because he's the worst. Am I right? I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be another show for another time. We don't need to get into Snake Gyllenhaal. Be honest, I think that has to do something with Taylor Swift, but I have no idea what that actually means. Okay,
you're right.
Great. Well, Linz, I'm so pumped that you decided to join us today. We're just going to kind of have a conversation around something that I think most people in our generation are dealing with and asking questions about, and that's dating apps, right? I mean, I think even just in our young adult community here at Flatirons Young Adults, we've had so many people approach us and ask questions about dating apps. Every other conversation that I feel like I'm into when people are talking about dating and in that culture, a dating app is always involved. And I think that there's really 3 kind of predominant categories when it comes to dating apps and how young adults approach it. Number one, we have people who think that dating apps are totally fine, that no matter the context, no matter how you use them, what you use them for, dating apps are great, you should be on them, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
I think there's a second category of people, and I think a lot of people's maybe parents feel this way, or people who just grew up differently maybe see this, or maybe people who just have really something against it feel this way, is that there's a second category who think dating apps are bad. Yeah. Like dating apps border the line of being sinful and we shouldn't use them no matter what. Like dating apps are bad, we should stay away from them. And I think there's a third category of people, and this is where I think most people lied, and for a while even I feel like I was in this category, that they're confused about dating apps. There's this mixed messaging of like, hey, dating apps are awesome, dating apps are bad, don't use them. No, I met my significant other on a dating app. No, you shouldn't be on a dating app. You need to wait to meet somebody in person. And so I want to just open up a conversation about it and really just start getting your perspective on this. Like, as someone who understands this, as someone who has friends in this world, like, how do you approach dating apps? Like, what are your opinions on? Are they good? Are they bad? And how should we leverage them as Christians and as followers of Jesus?
It's a really good question. I would say initially it's about how you use it. It's not about the actual thing. I think anything can be either a bad thing or a good thing when it's in its right context or when it's not in the right context. And so my just initial opinion about it is, or I guess question I would have, and question I have had for friends who have approached this subject, is what's your goal? Like, is the goal to, I think there's a connotation around dating apps, well, for sure, that it's like hookup culture. Yeah. And so if that's the goal, then I would say maybe the intention is that you're not pursuing like a Christ-centered relationship. Yeah. That doesn't have to be the goal, though. I think the intention behind how you use it is where you start. And so if you're not clear about what you want, then anything and everything is going to make it through that filter.
That is so said. Wow.
Yeah, if you're constantly, if you're searching for something but you don't know what you're looking for, then you're in for a world of hurt, in my opinion. Sure.
You're going in blind, right?
Yeah. So if there's a lack of clarity, and that's with anything, that could be that dating app or not dating app, like that's just dating in general. And so the app itself is just the platform or like the method in which you get to the end goal. But if you don't know what you want to get to, or you're not clear about what you want, then it could fall into that category of like, you should stay away from it. It could be a bad thing.
It could be harmful. Yeah. It's like almost like that aspect where it's not good or bad, it's neutral.
Right.
Right? Like it doesn't necessarily have to be an inherently evil thing, but it can very easily become something that's harmful in your life.
Right.
But it could be a really good thing too. Like, I think for the longest time, I mean, agree with everything you said. When it comes to dating apps, I really picture them like, to an extent, it can be this way. Like, we have companies that hire recruiters, and they have recruiting firms and recruiting sectors of their company where you can go hire them or go through them and say, hey, this is who I am. This is the type of job I'm looking for. Will you help me find companies who are looking for people like me? And
Like
will
a
you help
connector.
people like me, find companies that I'm looking for? Now, I think in our culture today, I mean, we're pretty much asking single young adults to do like two things. It's like, hey, go to church or go to a bar, go to a restaurant, a social outing, whatever. See someone from across the way, check for a ring on the finger, and then that's like the first check. And if there's nothing there, then you have to kind of play this weird game of, all right, like, I have no idea if they're looking for something. I have no idea if they want a relationship. I can walk up to them and get turned down. And we pretty much just throw them to the wolves and say, hey, go figure it out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with using a platform like a dating app, a system that says, hey, I'm raising my hand and I'm looking for somebody. I'm going to therefore go use a platform and a system that's going to help me find other people who are raising their hand saying, I'm looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
But to your point, you have to know who you are first, and you have to know what you're looking for. Because if you just go on there and just start, making it rain, just start swiping all over the place, you're putting yourselves in a situation where could you get lucky and meet someone incredible and someone who loves Jesus and someone who's going to take care of you and honor you in the exact same way that Scripture teaches us to do so. You could, but the chances are, like, you're just going to be putting yourselves in a position for more confusion and more hurt and more destruction at that point. And so, true to what you said, I think there needs to be this approach of like, hey, I know who I am first and foremost, but I also know what I'm looking for on here. And I'm going to be intentional about how I use this app. Because if you do it in that way and you put it in its proper context, like you said, it can be a really, really powerful thing. But if you take it outside of that good context that it could be, and you use it to fill a hole in your heart, or, hey, just to go on dates, or to meet the wrong people, or if you go on there and say, I have no idea what I'm looking for, he, she's cute, whatever, and you start swiping, it could end in really, really bad ways. So I really appreciate your perspective in saying that, because I think you and I really see eye to eye on that. And I'm curious to kind of ask your opinion too on this. Like, as a woman, how would you advise other young adult women to be on these apps? Like, what things would you tell them to be careful of? What things would you tell them to look out for? Is there maybe an approach or some questions you'd ask yourself as a woman to say, hey, I would share this with friends and other people who are going on dating apps to make sure they have that really good experience on there?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think where I would start, and it's kind of twofold, where you have to be clear about what you're looking for, and then also clear about who you are and how you want to represent yourself so that it's accurate and genuine to like actually who you are. Because I think our default is to put up, and this is just social media in general, right? It's to put up our best face, it's to put up our best pictures and like the best descriptions of who we are, like answering the topic questions on dating apps and stuff like that. And so I would say, like, is the person that you're representing on these apps for people to find, is it genuine to who you actually are? And I would actually ask someone else in your life, like if I was talking to a friend that was either approaching this or like on a dating app or whatever, and I've had friends where I'm like, hey, can I see your profile? Like, I'm curious what it like what it says, not in like a, are you the person you say you are, but just because it, like, with a dating app in general, it cuts off the legs of like this whole person, right? So we're looking at like this image of this person. And so you want it to be a snapshot of like the person that you are and what you want. But you want it to be honest. And so I think that's like step one is for like my girlfriends that are on dating apps. And when I was on an app, I was like so hyper-focused, maybe to a fault, honestly, which this is where it kind of, walks into the category of like, it could be, like when you make it an ultimate thing, then is it really a good thing? But so hyper-focused. Shout out. I love you, Scott. On like the image of it or just like the portrayal of who you are in your life.
The
like
surface level stuff.
Making sure that it's accurate. And then the other thing I would say is like, before you approach any of that, I think the thing that we fall short in, and this is just people in general, but especially in singleness, is not understanding the love that Christ has for us as people, like in our direction.
Yeah.
And so when we start to understand that and wrap our heads around that, it makes it way easier to filter out the things that are not aligned with the Lord's heart for us.
Absolutely.
And so I would say, like, one, are you in a safe enough spot, like spiritually and emotionally, to even be on an app in the first place, or be dating? Again, it like in the context of just dating in general, but especially on an app, like, can you, like, do you have a sense of who you are and a sense of like how Jesus actually loves you?
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then like, I think you're in perfect alignment with like finding someone who will honor and like treasure that. But if not, then again, it's like it kind of treads into dangerous territory. Yeah.
Risk.
Yeah.
No, I love what you said there. I think there's a sense of dating apps at times, and just dating in general. I think one thing that so many young adults, and I was in this season of my life too, for many years, is we're almost waiting on finding somebody to complete us, to make us happy, to make us whole.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think guys and girls do it, and I don't think we want to admit it. But deep down, we think, hey, my life will get substantially better, or this suffering will end, or my whatever will end the minute I meet my significant other, my future spouse, whoever it is. And I think you brought up something so important, because you have to analyze before you go into that situation, before you get on a dating app, before you go on a date. Hey, am I truly content? Like, am I truly good as things are with just being who I am? Because I trust that God is right when he says I am who he says I am.
Yeah.
And that I actually don't need anything else to complete me. I think that's such a huge thing.
Yeah. And also to that, I feel like there's this myth, well, especially in church world, where, older people that are married, and this was in singleness too. I was like, if one more person tells me this, I'm going to...
I think I know you're going with
whatever.
This, I get you.
But yeah, like that in order to find the person that you're supposed to spend your life with, you have to be like fully content and like exactly like happy and whatever in your singleness before God will like give you the person
bless you with that thing, right? Yeah.
Which is such a lie. Like there was, even when Spence, my husband, and I started dating, like shout out Spence. Shout out Spence. Love you so much. I had just come out of like a really rough heartbreak and relationship.
Yeah.
And I was, questioning a lot and really hurting. And although I was more clear than ever about what I wanted, and especially what I didn't want in a spouse, I was not in the place where it was like, Lord, I am perfectly content and I'm ready now. And God was like, okay,
Yeah, right.
That's just like...
You've crossed this ethereal line.
Totally. And that's just not what it is. Yeah. And so I would say, as long as you're like, I was walking the path, like I was taking steps forward and I was moving in the direction of what I thought like contentment looked like and like wholeness. But none of us actually arrive at that, 100%. And if someone tells you that they have, and that's why they have a spouse, I would run for the hills from that friend.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I think there's this, like, as long as you're taking steps and you're like, there's effort involved, you know, and you're not just, filling that void with whatever you can find and grasping at straws, then I think the Lord like sees that. And I think the other thing we tend to fall into is like the desires of our heart, like part of the Bible where it's like, you seek the Lord with all your heart and, the Lord will grant you the desires.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's hilarious because then in Jeremiah it says, hey, the heart is like twisted, sick, and
it's like, hey,
who can trust it?
Careful.
Right?
Yeah. So I think that specifically, when we take that out of context, it's like, well, God, I have all these desires. Why aren't you giving them to me?
Yeah.
And like, we miss the first part of that where it says like, when you seek the Lord.
Yeah.
And when you seek the Lord, then all of a sudden your desires start to align with his. And so it's the effort of like the moving forward and like the refining process of that, where we like none of us actually arrive at that, and it's all in like God's perfect timing.
So good. I think of Proverbs that too, of like, hey, trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll make straight your paths.
Yeah.
And I think what you're even saying here, and to bring it back to the context of dating apps, is like, that's the goal. Is to say, hey, dating apps aren't wrong. They're neutral, and they can be a really good thing. And the dating world can be a really good thing. It's an awesome thing. But if you're not doing exactly that, if you're not looking to God and saying, hey, will you can I acknowledge you in everything I do?
Mm-hmm.
Is every decision that I'm making on this platform or in this world or when I'm on a date,
Mm-hmm.
is it agreeing with what you say about this person? Is
Yeah.
the way this person is treating me agreeing with what you say about me?
Yeah.
Is everything finding its context under your authority?
Mm-hmm.
If that's not happening, we open ourselves up to danger.
Yeah.
But I love what you said too about contentment, where it's not a place to arrive to. It's
Mm-hmm.
more of making the decision to go on a journey there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you would say, as a married person, as well as I would say for myself, that's still a journey that I'm on every single day.
Always, yeah. And I think that's where, sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No,
That's where this is the piece of marriage that I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have understood this like before I was married, and still I'm trying to understand it, but marriage doesn't fix anything. Like it
only amplifies your brokenness. That's what I've seen.
It amplifies what's already there, like the good and the bad. So like the brokenness and the wholeness. And it is a constant like process. It doesn't all of a sudden you get married and it's like, oh my gosh, all of my past heartbreak is gone and all of my past traumas and my past,
addictions, they're gone.
Yes. And it's
my sexual appetite is completely satisfied now.
And I think that's something that I think the church, we just don't talk about enough, because it's like, oh, marriage is like the thing. If you like desire to be married, like marriage is supposed to image Christ, and it does.
And we never come out and say it.
Right.
But it's always this like, hey, you're in another tier once you get married. You're down here, but then once you get married, you kind of get placed in this better place.
Oh, it is the weirdest thing. Yeah. So I think in the church especially, we're just not very good at, and I had some like really great mentors that kind of helped me in this before I got married, but not really good at acknowledging like you can be equally as, and we are equally as broken in singleness as we are in marriage. And then it's just a decision to be like broken alongside another person and to like pursue Christ together is like the difference, and to like image that relationship.
But that person's got to be on the same page with you.
Yes.
Going, hey, I'm broken too, but I'm running after Jesus. You're broken with
and
me.
that's
We're
the
both
other
running
piece.
After Jesus. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the other piece too with dating apps, and again, just dating in general. But is it can be like, if we're like swiping left and right, trying to figure out on paper, does this person match the desires of like what I want? Are they my type, like physically? Do I think I could get along with them? And all those, things like hobbies and whatever. And someone can be incredible on paper or on an app on your phone and also not be the right person for you. And I think that's something that we just kind of have to accept, like in dating and singleness too, is like dating in and of itself, not inherently bad. It's inherently neutral. It depends on how you approach it. But there could be someone, and I was in this position before Spence and I started dating, where there were a couple of people that I dated perfect on paper for me. Like enjoyed the right things, were like creatives and loved being outside and all the things, like loved Jesus, and was still not the right fit for me. And so I think that's something that we have to pay attention to also, is like our desires can lead us into something, and we can be really clear about the kind of person we want to end up with and how we want to feel with this person. And at the end of the day, like, is there peace wrapped up in it, where it's like, no, I feel like this person is like a good fit. It amplifies the good things in my life. Like spiritually, my relationship with the Lord is growing, my relationship with my family and my friends, I'm not distracted by it. And so I think that's something else to keep in mind too, as we're, looking at a snapshot again of someone's life and of who they are.
A highlight reel, true.
Yeah.
Knowing that they have a lot of lowlights.
Totally. And we all do, you know? And so I think that's something, as you start to uncover and like walk through dating or like going on dates with people that you meet through apps, is like, it can be an incredible experience. And so taking that experience and going, maybe that was just a glimpse of like, something good that's to come, or like what the Lord wants for me, instead of, holding on to the first thing that's like, oh, this feels so good, which it does, when you're in something healthy, it's like, this has to work. And sometimes it's just not the right thing.
Well, I think what I hear you saying is, even if they check all the right boxes, hold it loosely. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when you go on a date with somebody, it's still just a first date. Yeah. So I think sometimes Christians walk into their first date
and they're not your spouse yet.
We're going to get married. And it's like, man, just like, be okay with going on a date. And be okay with also like not only being able to identify harmful character traits in somebody, or saying, hey, this is not the person I'm looking for, but also being able to go, you're not some person, and it's not going to work. Yeah. Because like you said, they can be the right kind of person, but to an extent, they also have to be the right person for you. Totally. And I think that's huge. So just to kind of wrap it up, Lindsay, I think in conclusion, what we're saying here around dating apps is, we're not saying dating apps are good or bad. We're saying they can be good and they can be bad. They're neutral. And at the end of the day, the most important thing that we can do when we're approaching dating apps, when we're approaching dating, and really anything, is ask ourselves why. Like, get down to the deep desires of our heart and be able to go, hey, does this agree with what God says about life? Does this agree with what God says about me? And does this agree with what God says about people?
Yeah.
And I think if we do that, then we're going to find ourselves in a place where dating apps are in that good side, that proper side of how they should be used versus that harmful side. So, Linz, you got so much wisdom. We're going to be bringing you on more. We're really excited to have you on this more and to be worshiping with you at our gatherings. Like, thanks so much for joining, friend. It was awesome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for asking.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the Flatirons Young Adults podcast. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to this podcast so you get notifications about when our new episodes are dropping. If you don't follow us on social media, follow us on social media at FlatironsYA. You can stay up to date with all of our live gatherings if you're in the Colorado area, our upcoming socials that we have once a month where we just get together and hang out and form community with one another. And at the end of the day, do not forget to share this with a friend if it has affected or touched your life. We will see you next time on the FYA podcast.